My sister took my dog because she copies everything others have, so I exposed how she was keeping him in a crate 24/7 while stealing $50,000 in office supplies and breaking into her workplace at 2 a.m. to sabotage her boss's company with fake emails, telling clients the business was closing. My sister Sage could make our parents do anything by copying others. She'd see someone's handbag and suddenly need the exact same one. She'd visit a friend's apartment and demand identical furniture. She'd meet someone's boyfriend and date his brother just to have something similar. So when she met my dog, I knew what was coming. I'd rescued Coley during college when I found him shivering behind a dumpster. For 3 years, we were inseparable. He slept in my bed, came to outdoor cafes, and even had his own photo album I kept meticulously updated. My apartment building loved him, and the doorman kept treats just for his visits. Sage visited my place after getting dumped by her latest boyfriend. She spent 20 minutes on my couch looking through her phone contacts for someone new to date. Then Coley jumped up beside her and she suddenly paid attention. She started petting him obsessively and taking photos with her phone. Before leaving, she mentioned how empty her house felt. The next week, Sage showed up at every family dinner with dog photos. Not just any dogs, but Japanese Spitz like Coley. She'd cry about her anxiety and loneliness while showing pictures of therapy dogs. She'd mention how her therapist said a pet would help, but she couldn't afford one. My parents exchanged worried looks every time. Then came the Sunday dinner that changed everything. Sage arrived with printed articles about emotional support animals. She sobbed about her coworker's dog and how everyone at her marketing firm had pets except her. She said she felt excluded from office culture and it was affecting her performance reviews. My mom rubbed her back while she hyperventilated about possibly losing her job. After dinner, my parents asked me to stay. Sage had already left, claiming she needed to go cry alone. They looked uncomfortable as my dad cleared his throat. "We think Coley should stay with Sage for a while," he said. They explained she was struggling and I was doing well. When I reminded them Coley was my dog, they said I could visit him anytime. I came home from work Monday to an empty apartment. Coley's bed was gone. The doorman avoided eye contact when I ran downstairs. He admitted my parents came with Sage around lunch and she carried Coley out in a designer carrier I'd never seen. My spare key was on the kitchen counter with a note from Sage thanking me for understanding. I drove to her house that night, but she wouldn't answer. Through the window, I saw Coley in a ridiculous sweater looking confused. When I called my parents, they said to give her time and that Coley was helping her heal. The next day, I decided to play along. I texted Sage offering to help with Coley's care and share his routine. She was thrilled and invited me over immediately. While there, I noticed her work laptop open with Slack notifications constantly pinging. Her boss kept messaging about missing deadlines and asking about reports. Over the next 2 weeks, I became the supportive sister visiting daily. I saw her ignore work while shopping for dog accessories. I watched her skip virtual meetings to take Coley to dog parks during work hours. Most importantly, I noticed her company's shared drive was still logged in on her personal laptop. Her marketing firm used a project management system where everyone could see task assignments. Sage had dozens of overdue items marked urgent, but what caught my attention were the client complaints. Apparently, she'd been copying other agencies' campaigns and clients were noticing. There were emails about possible plagiarism and legal concerns. Her boss, Parker, had been documenting everything in a private folder he thought was hidden. Screenshots of copied campaigns, client complaints, and missed deadlines filled multiple subfolders. He'd even started a termination paperwork file with HR. But the kicker was an email thread about hiring her replacement starting next month. I took photos of everything during my visits. She'd started a dog clothing business on the side. She quit pretending to work entirely and told our parents she was transitioning to entrepreneurship. 3 weeks after taking Coley, Sage announced a major business deal at family dinner. A luxury pet boutique wanted to carry her clothing line exclusively. That's when I mentioned how proud her boss Parker must be about her career change. Sage froze mid-celebration. I casually added that he'd probably understand why she hadn't submitted the Henderson campaign or responded to his urgent messages. Her phone started buzzing immediately with notifications she'd been ignoring. Sage excused herself to check her emails and came back pale. Parker had sent a meeting request for Monday morning with HR copied. The subject line read, "Performance review and next steps." Apparently, clients were pulling out and Parker was done covering for her. She left dinner early, claiming Coley needed his evening walk, but I saw her car at the office later when I drove past. The next morning, she called begging me to help with the Henderson campaign due in 6 hours. When I arrived at her apartment, she was surrounded by empty coffee cups, and Coley was whining in a crate she'd bought to keep him quiet. I sat at her desk and opened the client folder while she paced behind me. The original campaign she'd copied was right there in her browser history, but what I found next made me pause. Parker's private folder had updated overnight with something labeled security footage, office hours. The timestamp showed last night when I'd seen her car there. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Is this your sister?" Attached was a photo from the office security camera showing Sage at Parker's desk at 2 a.m. I stared at the security footage on my phone. The image was grainy, but unmistakable. Sage hunched over Parker's computer, her face illuminated by the screen's glow. My hands trembled as I typed back to the unknown number asking who they were. "Building security. Saw you dropping by sometimes. Thought you should know what your sister's been up to." Sage continued pacing behind me, muttering about the Henderson campaign. I minimized the security folder and pulled up the client brief, pretending to work while my mind raced. She'd broken into the office. Whatever she was doing at Parker's desk at 2 a.m. couldn't be good. My phone buzzed again. Another photo. This one showed Sage at the printer, stacks of papers in her arms. The timestamp read 2:47 a.m. A third message arrived with video footage of her leaving through the emergency exit, a box tucked under her arm. I glanced back at Sage. She'd collapsed on her couch, Coley's crate beside her. The dog whimpered softly, pawing at the metal bars. His fur was matted from the ridiculous outfit she'd forced him into. The sparkly vest looked tight around his chest. "The campaign needs to focus on sustainability," I said, typing random notes to look busy. "Henderson wants eco-friendly friendly messaging. Sage mumbled agreement without looking up from her phone. She was scrolling through Parker's emails, her face growing paler with each message. I noticed her hands shaking as she encountered what looked like termination paperwork drafts. The security guard sent another message. There's more. Check your email. I opened my personal email on my phone, keeping it angled away from Sage. The guard had sent a zip file labeled March Security Review. Inside were dozens of time-stamped photos showing Sage entering the office after hours over the past month. Not just once or twice, nearly every night. In several images, she carried boxes out. In others, she was photographing documents with her phone. One particularly clear shot showed her at the supply closet, loading printer paper and toner into a bag. Another caught her in the break room, emptying the coffee supplies into her purse. But the most damning footage was from 2 weeks ago. Sage sat at her own desk, systematically deleting files from her computer. The security camera had captured her screen clearly enough to see she was removing client presentations, campaign strategies, and creative assets. She was covering her tracks. I need coffee, Sage announced suddenly, making me jump. Want anything? I shook my head, watching her shuffle to the kitchen. Coley's whimpering grew louder. While she was gone, I quickly forwarded the security footage to my personal cloud storage. Then I opened Parker's folder again, looking for more evidence. A new file had appeared. Employee theft investigation. Confidential. My stomach dropped. Parker hadn't just been documenting her performance issues. He'd been building a criminal case. The folder contained itemized lists of missing supplies, equipment sign-out sheets Sage had forged, and estimates of stolen property value. Over $5,000 in office supplies alone. Sage returned with her coffee, slumping back onto the couch. Maybe I should just quit before they fire me. Start the dog clothing business full-time. With what money? I asked, still typing fake campaign notes. I've been saving. Plus, the boutique deal will bring in revenue. I knew she was lying. Her credit cards were maxed from buying Coley's designer accessories. The boutique deal was probably fabricated too. But I played along, needing more time to plan my next move. My phone vibrated. The security guard again. Your sister just texted someone about meeting tonight. Something about moving inventory. The stolen office supplies. She was planning to run. Actually, I should go, I said, saving the fake campaign document. I'll email you the draft later. Sage barely looked up. Whatever. It's probably too late anyway. I gathered my things, pausing at Coley's crate. He pressed his nose against the bars, tail wagging weakly. The sparkly vest had rubbed raw spots on his skin. His water bowl was empty. He needs water, I said. He's fine. Dogs are resilient. I bit my tongue and left. In my car, I called the security guard's number. Why does Sage think she can just take someone else's dog like that? The way she manipulated their parents with those tears and therapy dog articles seems really calculated. I'm curious about what's driving her to copy everything. It's like she can't figure out who she is without taking pieces from other people's lives. He answered on the first ring. I've been watching the situation for weeks, he said. Your sister's been stealing more than supplies. She copied the entire client database onto external drives. Parker doesn't know yet. Why are you telling me this? Because I remember when you brought that dog around. Sweet little thing. Doesn't deserve what's happening to him. And your sister. She's planning something bigger. He explained that Sage had been accessing the office after hours to use the high-end printers for her fake dog clothing business. She'd been printing promotional materials, business cards, and fake testimonials using company resources. But worse, she'd been reaching out to Parker's clients, trying to poach them for freelance work. She sent emails from Parker's account last night, he continued, telling clients the agency was closing and recommending her new consulting firm. My hands gripped the steering wheel. This was beyond theft. She was destroying Parker's business. Can you send me everything you have? I asked. Already done. Check your email. But you should know, Parker's planning to involve the police Monday morning. Your sister needs to return everything before then. I thanked him and hung up. The evidence was overwhelming. Sage had dug herself into a hole so deep she'd never climb out, but I still needed Coley back first. That evening, I texted Sage offering to help her pack up her office belongings, claiming I understood she needed a fresh start. She jumped at the offer, grateful for support. We agreed to meet at her house the next morning. I spent the night organizing the evidence, screenshots, security footage, itemized lists of stolen property. I created a detailed timeline showing how her crimes had escalated from petty theft to corporate sabotage. Then I backed up everything in multiple locations. The next morning, I arrived at Sage's house with empty boxes and a sympathetic expression. She'd already started packing, throwing her belongings into bags without organization. Coley was still in his crate, the vest now removed, but red marks visible on his fur. I'm thinking of moving back home, she said, dumping desk supplies into a box. Mom and Dad will support me while I get the business going. I noticed several boxes in her garage labeled with Parker's company logo, the stolen supplies. There were also printing materials, clearly taken from the office's production room. Thousands of dollars worth of equipment she'd been using for her fake business. Have you talked to Parker about transitioning your clients? I asked casually. He doesn't deserve an explanation. After everything I've done for that company. I helped her pack while mentally cataloging every stolen item I saw. Designer paper samples, professional printing cartridges, even a small laminating machine. She'd turned her garage into a bootleg production facility using Parker's resources. My phone buzzed. A text from Parker himself. HR found irregularities in the email system. Did Sage access my account? Clients are calling about the agency closing. I stepped outside to call him. Parker was panicked. 3 major clients had already terminated contracts based on the emails Sage sent. He was losing hundreds of thousands in revenue. I have evidence, I told him, but I need until tomorrow to sort this out. Parker agreed to wait, though I could hear the desperation in his voice. His business was crumbling because of my sister's scheme. Back inside, Sage was shoving Coley's belongings into a bag. His favorite toys, his blanket, even his vet records. She was erasing every trace of his life with me. I should take Coley out, I offered. He's been in that crate all morning. He's fine. We're almost done here. But I could see Coley's distress. He'd stopped whimpering, lying still in resignation. This wasn't the happy, energetic dog I'd raised. Sage had broken his spirit in just 3 weeks. I decided to push harder. Opening Coley's crate, I lifted him out despite Sage's protests. His legs wobbled as I set him down. The poor dog could barely stand after being confined for hours. Red welts marked where the vest had rubbed his skin raw. I carried him to the backyard, watching him stumble on the grass. Sage followed, arms crossed. She watched me examine Coley's injuries with narrowed eyes. When I pulled out my phone to photograph the welts, she snatched it from my hand. The device clattered across the patio. I retrieved it while she ranted about boundaries and trust. The screen had cracked but still worked. More importantly, she'd revealed how paranoid she'd become. Good. Paranoid people made mistakes. We went back inside where Sage resumed packing. I noticed she kept checking her phone every few minutes, fingers flying across the screen. She was deleting something, probably emails or messages related to her theft. My phone vibrated with another message from the security guard. He'd found something new in last night's footage. Sage had spent an hour in the server room. The company's backup systems were housed there. If she'd tampered with those, Parker might lose years of client data. I excused myself to use the bathroom and called Parker from there. He confirmed their IT department had reported anomalies in the backup system that morning. Several client folders showed signs of tampering. The damage assessment was still ongoing. When I returned, Sage had moved to her home office. Boxes lined the walls, filled with what looked like office supplies. A professional printer hummed in the corner. Definitely not a home model. She'd created an entire production facility with stolen equipment. She showed me her business plan for the dog clothing line. The presentation used Parker's company templates. The market research came directly from a campaign they'd done last year. Even the financial projections were copied from an old client pitch. She'd built her entire fake business on stolen intellectual property. I played supportive sister, praising her creativity while documenting everything. When she went to answer the door for a delivery, I quickly photographed the evidence. The printer serial number, the stolen supplies, the copied presentations. All of it went to my cloud storage. The delivery turned out to be more printing supplies, high-end paper stock that cost hundreds per box. She signed for it without hesitation, probably using a company account she still had access to. The delivery driver handed her an invoice showing Parker's company as the billing address. After he left, Sage's phone rang. Her face went white as she listened. She hung up without speaking and immediately started shoving things into boxes faster. Parker had discovered the email breach. He was changing all passwords and freezing company accounts. She tried logging into various systems on her laptop, growing more frantic with each failed attempt. Her access was being revoked in real time. Years of stolen passwords and backdoor entries vanished as Parker's IT team locked down everything. Then she turned to me with tears in her eyes. Real tears this time, not the fake ones she used on our parents. She begged me to help her return everything before Monday. If she could put it all back, maybe Parker wouldn't press charges. I agreed to help, seeing an opportunity. We loaded her car with boxes of stolen supplies. The printer took both of us to carry. By the time we finished, her garage was empty except for the evidence of her scheme. Coley watched from his crate, still too weak to move much. We drove to the office building as the sun set. Sage used her keycard at the employee entrance, but it beeped red. Access denied. She tried the loading dock, the main entrance, even the emergency exits. Every door rejected her card. Parker had been thorough. Sage sat on the curb, surrounded by boxes of stolen goods she couldn't return. She called our parents, sobbing about being locked out of her office. She spun a story about needing to retrieve personal items before her resignation. They bought it completely. Within an hour, our parents arrived. Dad had called Parker directly, using his business connections to arrange building access. They believed their daughter just needed closure after leaving a toxic workplace. I watched Sage manipulate them expertly, playing the victim while sitting next to thousands in stolen property. The building security let us in after Dad's call. We hauled boxes through the lobby while Sage kept her head down. The security cameras recorded everything. Her returning stolen goods under parental supervision would look even worse than the original theft. In her office, Sage scrambled to hide evidence of her crimes. She deleted files, cleared browser history, and shoved personal items into bags. But the damage was done. Parker's IT team had already preserved everything on backup servers she couldn't access. I volunteered to help with her computer while she and our parents boxed up her desk. With them distracted, I opened her email one last time. The drafts folder contained unsent messages to Parker's biggest clients. She'd planned to poach them all, offering services at half the agency's rate using stolen campaign strategies. I forwarded those drafts to Parker before deleting them. Then I opened her personal folders. Screenshots of client contracts, pricing sheets, proprietary methodologies. She'd been building a competing agency using everything she'd stolen. The scope was bigger than anyone realized. Our parents finished packing while Sage grew increasingly agitated. She kept trying to access areas she shouldn't, claiming she'd left things in the conference room or break area. But Dad finally insisted we leave. The boxes of stolen supplies sat in the hallway, abandoned in her panic. Back at her house, Sage collapsed on the couch. Our parents comforted her, promising everything would work out. They offered to let her move home, to support her business dreams, to help however they could. Parker's changing all the passwords while Sage frantically clicks around like she's trying to beat a video game boss is pure gold. Karma delivered express with tracking number included. She accepted tearfully, already planning her next manipulation. I stayed quiet, watching Coley in his crate. The dog hadn't moved in hours. His water remained untouched. When I tried to check on him again, Sage snapped that he was fine. Our parents said nothing, too focused on their distraught daughter to notice the animal's condition. Mom suggested family dinner the next night to plan Sage's future. She'd cook all of Sage's favorites. They'd brainstorm business ideas together, maybe even invest in her dog clothing line. The enabling continued while Coley suffered in silence. After they left, I lingered. Sage was already on her laptop, probably trying to salvage her scheme. I asked about Coley's feeding schedule, pretending concern about his transition. She waved me off, saying dogs were adaptable. He'd learn her routine soon enough. I drove home planning my next move. The security guard texted